UFC 311 has came and gone, the first pay-per-view of the year, and as I predicted at least, and still on both of the main and co-main event out in LA in the Intuit Dome, which honestly, the Intuit Dome itself might be one of the biggest other headlines for me at least, AJ,
Yeah,
because that looks obviously outside of the sphere. I don't know if it can get much better than the Intuit Dome.
it looked sick, especially when like they did the championship fights and they did those like stuff for them. Like it looked sick up
The
on the post.
intros,
Yeah,
yeah, it was cool. But yeah, this is the Combat Corner breakdown of UFC 311, and we start from the top. Islam Makhachev proving why he's the number one pound for pound. Doesn't matter who it is, one day's notice. He said the champion represents that he's the best in the world, and he proved it against Moicano. He looked flawless. Like, go ahead, AJ.
Oh, so I was like,
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, dude. I mean, what can I say? I mean, I was hyping the B Dubs. There was a couple other people there. Most, I don't know why. A lot of people were rooting for Moicano, which I get it. Moicano's a likable guy. Maybe they just don't like Islam, but like, I mean, he didn't get dropped. A lot of people thought he got dropped right there when he slipped. I know the whole B Dubs was like going crazy. Like they were screaming, people were standing up. I was like, bro, he literally slipped. And then literally 40 seconds later, he takes him down, subs him. He's the Darce man. I mean, 2 wins in a row now by Darce. He's just he's the greatest lightweight of all time now. He's got the most title defenses, most title wins, lightweight history. No, he is, bro. His resume is better than Khabib's.
so I still have Habib as the lightweight goat. Before I get into that though, just to touch back on Islam, yeah, I mean he did, as I said before, he did everything he was supposed to do. Um, soon as it got on the floor, you kind of could feel that there was two completely different levels, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, whenever people leave their neck out, Islam finds that dart so easy, and now we wonder what happens next in lightweight, but just to touch on what you said, I would not have him as the lightweight goat just yet. I think the one thing that people forget in I guess the argument between him and his coach Habib is that I just think Habib did it a little bit more dominantly. There wasn't any moments of doubt in his title reign. You had the Volkanovski fight, the first one, really close fight, could have went either way on the scorecard. The Poirier fight, Poirier had his moments in that fight. Um, Habib just there was never any doubt with Habib. Any there's never a moment where you thought Habib would really be put out or really was put in danger. And I just think the fashion that Habib was able to shut out these guys at lightweight um, is something that we have seen from Islam for the most part, but not always. We have seen him tested. That being said, I mean, I'm not gonna scoff at anyone saying that he's the lightweight go. I mean, you look on paper with the resume of four title defenses is more than three. I get that, but Habib's also undefeated. That's something else with that. So I would still have Habib at one, but I'm not gonna scoff at you one bit. Islam is the real deal, and he's really like that. I can't really say much more on that.
Yeah, I mean, I love I love both of them. They're both some of my favorite fighters of all time. But just looking at and I hate to say this, but Habib really, I mean, he didn't fight anybody, but still towards the end of his career. I mean, his 10th fight in the UFC, he fought a dude that was 0-0. But when you look at Islam, he's beat Charles, Dan Hooker, um, Dustin Poirier. I mean, 5 out of the top 10 heavyweight or not heavyweight, lightweight or no, he's beat him, and only one of them went to a decision. Um, he beat Arman Sarukian already. He beat Volk twice. Both times Volk was ranked the pound for pound number one fighter in the world. Um, and I just and I He's already top 10 all time. He's close to top five. I think when he moves up and he gets if he moves up to welterweight or not welterweight, middleweight and beats Dricus, if that ever happens, I mean, bro, he's up there.
I would have to think about it a little bit more in depth, but just on the top of my head right now, I still feel like I would have him maybe just outside the top 10 or maybe right at the tail end of that top 10 just because a lot of that go list is based on really long title reigns and a stack of title defenses, which Islam is very much making his way towards that. Just at this moment, I think off the top of my head, I'd probably have him either just outside the top 10 or just barely making it in. But that is there's no hate towards that. Islam is like that, and he has every he has every skill imaginable to be able to enter those talks, and I have no doubt that he would. But with that being said, um, what happens next now? Because you heard Dana on the post-fight press conference. Armin missed his opportunity, pulling out a day before the fight. Um, so it's pretty evident that he's not going to be next. He's going to have to fight probably for a number one contender fight.
Yeah.
So, what would you like to see next? What would be your number one option?
I don't know. I it makes sense to do Charles next because he's right there. You already beat Charles and like beat him. So I don't know. I would like to see a new fight. Maybe I would like to see him fight Max Holloway, but I feel like I know what's going to happen.
And what's that?
I would almost bet like everything that I own that when Gaethje beats Dan Hooker, they're gonna give Gaethje a title shot, and I mean he's gonna get destroyed because people thought that Dustin's wrestling was bad. Gaethje is even worse at wrestling. I feel like that's what the direction they're gonna go in, especially since saying that Armin, you know, it's not that guy anymore. I could see Ali going in there and pushing for a Gaethje fight, being like, "Oh no, like this is the one we want." You know what I mean? I feel like it's gonna go with. I would like to see either Charles. I would personally like to see Charles or Max next, though.
I see the argument for Gaethje. I don't think it'll happen over Charles Oliveira with the Dan Hooker win that was obviously just announced on Saturday for UFC 313. Um, but I actually there's actually one name that I think you're missing in this whole thing that could very much be in play. And it's not Max Holloway, it is Ilya Taporia though.
Yeah,
I could very well see Taporia whether he does vacate the belt or not. I could see him getting himself a lightweight title shot against Islam sometime this year. Um, he obviously tweeted out at Islam saying, Islam, if I want to, I can beat you. If I want to, I can knock you out, and that he'll see him soon. So I think that is a name that's very much in play. And I actually think that's the second most likely thing to happen next, behind, of course, Charles Oliveira. Oliveira got the win over Michael Chandler. He has been booked for a rematch before with Islam, of course, before pulling out and having Volk sub in. I just think that's the easiest thing to do right now. And I think that's going to happen maybe summertime, I would assume.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, we've already heard Islam say he's not interested in fighting anymore featherweights because people hold it against him, and they do. They say, "Oh, he's fought any real lightweights before the Poirier fight." So I don't know if he'll accept that fight or they
He's kind
make.
of been back and forth on it though, because like he's talked about that before, and then he right before this fight week he was talking to Demetrius Johnson, and he said, "I'll fight him if they ask him me to," but he still is looking at the higher weight classes, of course. I don't think middleweight's gonna happen. I'll just put that out there right now.
Hey, it
Um,
could.
it could, but I just
The law stage champ.
if Bilal stays champion, then that would be his biggest path to another belt. But I don't see that happening at least this year. Middleweights, we kind of know what's should be happening at the top of middleweight this year, and
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a full schedule for that, with obviously the next pay-per-view being Drakus and Strickland, and then of course Hamzat waiting for the winner of them. So we'll see about middleweight. I don't think it'll happen just yet.
Yeah. What do you think we do with Moicano?
Um, I would love to see him rebooked with Dariush. I think that would be um I think that'd be fair to Dariush. Obviously, seeing his opponent get a title shot off of, even though Dariush made weight, he did everything he was supposed to do up until the fight. I think that would be a really good thing to rebook. But if Dariush decides he wants to fight like really soon because he's in shape right now and they want to book him for something quick, then that will probably be out of the cards. My other option, my other option would be Patty. It would 100% be Patty. I think there's definitely a decent chance that there's not only going to be one London card this year, and we've seen Moicano be willing to travel across the pond for like a fight night main event, or if it's a bigger card in London, then it could be on the main card. But I could see I could see Moicano and Patty finally getting in the octagon. They've been talking a little back and forth since Moicano lost to Islam. Patty on his YouTube channel was talking about how Moicano should have just went to sleep. He shouldn't have tapped that quick. And then Moicano pretty much just tweeted at him and told him to shut up. So
Yep.
I think those would be my top two options: either rebooking with
Yeah.
Dariush or get him in there with Patty.
I agree with Patty. I think I would like to see him fight Patty. I do think I think Darius should fight. I mean, I think it would be great if they save that god awful 312 card and do Banil versus like Fiziev. I think that could be a good fight.
Just slap it on
Um,
the main card.
just slap it on the main card, dude. Because I mean, that card is horrible. That card is a crime to humanity. Um, hey, if it was a fight night, it'd be a banger, but it's not.
I mean,
It's it's a main
there
card.
like part of me like it's top heavy as well, I'll say. But
The only, I mean,
we'll
the
talk
only thing.
about we'll
Yeah,
talk
we'll
about
talk about
that at
it
another
a while
time.
later.
Yeah, we'll talk
But I
about that
think
another
I think
time.
I think you could do that. You could do him. You could do Benil versus Fiziev for 212, and then maybe if I mean, Moicano does. He has talked about fighting Patty, but if he doesn't want to fight down, maybe do Moicano versus Michael Chandler. That wouldn't be a bad fight, I don't think. But I would like to see.
They both would sell the hell out of that fight.
Oh yeah, but I would like to see Patty versus Moicano.
Yeah, my only
Or
pushback on the Benil idea that you had is that, especially on short notice, neither of them are going to want to fly all the way down to Australia.
yeah,
So that would be extremely unlikely, but potentially look out for Benil to get some sort of short notice opportunity, maybe on a fight night main card or something. But I mean, he's in shape right now, so we'll see what happens.
now robbery of the century.
Really,
Rob versus Umar.
I'll let you go first on this one since you're a little bummed about it.
Hey, I'm bummed. It wasn't a robbery. It was, but it wasn't. Man, I thought Umar was going to get it done, especially after those first two rounds. But it was like after when round three hit, it's like Marab, a switch had just flipped, and he was there and he was ready to go. I mean, Umar just got drained. I've never seen Umar lose like that, his stamina like that. Um, Especially after he was doing so good in the first two rounds, and he was doing pretty decent in the beginning of round five. And I was like, okay, if he keep this up, he can win this round. But I mean, Marab is just on a different level right now, and I think we can agree. I don't know if me and you agree, but most people can agree that he's probably the bantamweight GOAT now. I would say he is.
He certainly his name is certainly in that short list of his name is certainly included in that short list of people that have that argument. I mean, you look at his resume. I mean, Marlon Moraes, um,
Jose Aldo,
Jose Aldo, Henry
Peter Yan,
Cejudo, Piotr Jan, Sean O'Malley, and now
and then
Umar.
Umar, Nurmagomedov. He beat Nurmagomedov.
Took Umar's O. Umar was a giant favorite in this fight. If you remember our predictions episode for 311, I kind of talked about how I thought Umar was gonna win rounds early, and then at some point, Merab would be just kind of planting some seeds in those first two rounds, making reads. And then once round three started, like you said, he flipped a switch. He put on that forward pressure that he's so well known for and just smothered Umar. I mean, he was landing some of the better strikes. He was landing takedowns. He was shooting. There was at certain points in rounds 4 and 5 where it felt like he was shooting every 5 seconds. It was very reminiscent of um, the Piotr Jan fight whenever he completely dominated Jan and shot a record amount of takedowns. Not quite as many this time around, but
Yeah.
I mean he just poured it on Umar, and I just don't know who is going to be able to handle this pace and this cardio of Merab. If Umar can't with the skill set that he has, I think else in bantamweight is a nightmare matchup as far as
Yeah.
them versus Merab. You'd think that I mean, I guess right now there's really not that many names that are available for Merab right now. I guess Sean O'Malley would be maybe the most likely one just because there's not really anyone else. Sean O'Malley's got the brand, he's got the name. Um, he's extremely popular, and obviously he's coming off of a title loss, so he's still right up there in the rankings. I guess that is where they're gonna go next. If they don't book O'Malley in the number one contender fight, but yeah, Marab's inevitable. His pace is inevitable, and
Yeah.
I don't know who's gonna be able to do anything with him. I think Marab's gonna be able to stay champion for a long time if he wants to.
Yeah. I do think they will do Merab versus O'Malley next because he is so marketable. I know that Dana White and the UFC wants him to be champ again, so I know they're gonna tell me he was ringside or octagon side. He was right there. I saw him in the background when they were getting Umar ready to go in. Um, so I think that's next, but it's right there. If the UFC did want to, I mean, they could do Pantoja versus Merab.
Pantoja is in a spot right now where in flyweight where he's kind of just waiting for contenders to come up. Obviously, I believe in March you have Roy Royval and Manel Kape booked for a fight night main event. Outside of that, none of these other guys are going to get a Pantoja fight before that fight happens. So I could very much see a world where Pantoja slides in, goes up a weight class, and goes up against Merab. And actually, John Anik also tweeted about the idea of Pantoja coming up. He tweeted, I believe he said, I wonder how Pantoja would do up at 35 against Merab, just floating the idea out there.
Yeah.
So I definitely don't hate the idea, and just kind of both where bantamweight and flyweight are right now with what contenders are actually viable for these champions. I wouldn't be surprised if Pantoja was able to find his way into a second belt opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they do Pantoja versus Kai Kara France, and then when he beats him again, and then they do Merab versus O'Malley, beat him again, and then next fight Pantoja Merab. I think it's about time where Pantoja deserves to move up now. He's cleared out the division already. The only person would like to see him fight, and when he comes back and he starts earning it, would probably be Muhammad Makayev. I think he has a pretty decent shot at beating Pantoja, but he's not even in the UFC right now, so it's not even in the picture.
Yeah,
So
so we'll see on that.
now for Umar, I think I would think he should fight. I would book him with Figgy personally, just to see. This was his first, besides Corey Sandhagen, his first big fight with an actual bantamweight guy. Up there. And he didn't look bad. So to make sure if he still can hang with the big guys, I would like to see him fight Figgy.
We'll see what happens with Figgy. We were just talking about Pantoja and maybe Figgy could slide back down to 25. That idea's been floated out. But
Yeah.
I don't hate that if that is the case. Um that being said, I don't know if Figgy's also deserving of fighting the number one contender right now, someone who just fought for a title. But another idea that I would like would maybe be if they do O'Malley next, throw in Umar Nurmagomedov and Piotr Jan for 5 rounds.
Yeah.
Do it somewhere. Do it in Abu Dhabi.
On a fight
Some
night.
do it on a fight night somewhere. I think that idea would be. I think that would be a feasible fight for both of them. Something that's still at the top of the division. Obviously, Umar already beat Corey, and a lot of the other guys in the rankings just don't really make sense right now. Um, so my number one option would be Piotr Jan, make it 5 rounds. Um, yeah, I think that would be the most viable option.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the next fight, in my opinion, was fight of the night.
1000%.
It was a banger. I mean, they went to war, and it ended
Yeah,
in a finish.
you saw Yuri open up the first round. He was landing well, and you heard the commentary booth say yeah, his head movement looked a little bit better. The hands were still low because that's just who Yuri is, but his head movement looked a tad bit better. Um, and he was landing hard shots. He dropped Jamal Hill in the first round, of course. Hill actually recovered better than I thought he would,
Yeah,
and ended up, I think, winning the second round. I had it 1-1 going into round three,
I did
but
as well.
there was a point in round three where both of them landed some heavy shots, and Yuri's was just a little bit harder, and it just turned into absolute chaos. Yuri lands a left and then a right after showing off a little bit of head movement, and then just swarmed on Jamal Hill and put him away. But for Yuri, it's just a super weird spot to be in. I mean, you're beating everyone else in the division that you're being put up against. Your only losses in the UFC are against Alex Pereira, and frankly, the second one was even worse than the first one when it comes to the fights with Pereira. It was Pereira
Yeah,
seems to be a nightmare matchup for Yuri with Yuri's awkward style, his hands being low. Um, so whether he gets a third fight at Alex, we'll see. I think it could be likely if Alex takes care of Magomed Ankalaev and doesn't end up moving the heavyweight maybe later in the year. But yeah, it's a weird place to be in a division whenever you're stopping everyone else, but you can't beat the champion and you've lost to the champion twice. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens with Yuri. If he wants to stay active, maybe he takes another fight against maybe the winner of like Blachowicz and Olberg or
yeah. That's what I think he should do. I think he should fight the winner of Olberg versus Blachowicz, or if when Alex loses to Magomed Ankalaev, fight Magomed Ankalaev because he hasn't fought Alex yet, or he hasn't fought Magomed Ankalaev. So I think that can be something. And maybe even if Alex wins and he beats Magomed Ankalaev, do Yuri versus Magomed Ankalaev. I think there's a couple options for him right now. Um,
you still got Khalil Roundtree floating out there as well. His
oh,
last fight was for a title.
I'll talk about him real quick in a
Oh
bit.
yeah.
Uh,
Do you think would you rather have him next for Jamal then?
I think he should fight Jamal Hill next. That's what I think. You go.
I don't mind that at all. It was already booked before. It was booked for UFC 303. Didn't end up happening. But yeah, I
Or
don't hate that.
maybe do Jamal Hill versus Krylov. That wouldn't be bad either.
I wouldn't be bad at all. I mean, Jamal's 2 losses in a row to pretty much two of the top three guys in the division at this moment.
Yeah,
So, I mean, it's not, you obviously don't want to lose 2 fights in a row, but Jamal, I feel like, is in a spot where if he can pick up one, maybe two more wins, he can he can float his name right back into the conversation towards the top of the division again.
yeah. And the next fight we got here, we got Jaden Almeida versus Sergey Spivak. And I mean, did anyone really think Sergey Spivak was going to win? I don't think so. Jaden Almeida didn't win in there, did what he did, got it done early. Big ups, big respect to Jaden Almeida. You know, no one wants to sit through a 3-round decision heavy, boring heavyweight fight. He went in there, he got it done, so we can move on. So big ups to him.
Yeah, I mean, hold on. How do you pronounce his name?
Oh, it's Jayden. I know it's Jayden Almeida.
Jalton Almeida. Um,
Yeah, Jaden.
Either way. But yeah, Almeida, I think he did what he was supposed to do. He was obviously a heavy betting favorite. I think he closed like close to minus 500 on the money line. Um, but he did what he was supposed to do. He looked better on the feet, I will say. He landed some heavy shots on the feet, which you don't see from Almeida often. Often you see him sort of hunting for submissions when he's on the ground and not using his hands as much as maybe he should. But not this time around. He was able to use the speed advantage that he had against Spivak, and he caught him and was able to just end the fight early. And as I said before, that's what you would think Jailton Almeida would do to Sergey Spivak. And now Jailton's in a position where he is sort of on that short list of heavyweights at the top of the division. I mean, he lost to Curtis Blades last year, of course, but I mean, I could see a matchup that I really like is actually the one that he called out in the octagon is him and Cyril Gahn.
Yeah.
I think that is a really interesting fight for the both of them, especially more so on Gahn's side, just because Gahn's biggest question has always been how we would do against the grapplers, that the elite grapplers in the division, the elite wrestlers. Um, Obviously on the feet we know what Cyril Gahn is, but Jailton showed improvements on the feet. I'm not saying he's close to Cyril Gahn in that mark, but I could see it being a really compelling fight. Something that I could see if they do another Paris main event, that would be perfect. But Cyril Gahn at the top of that
Cyril
bill.
Gahn doesn't deserve to. After his last fight, he don't deserve to fight in Paris. Do it in Brazil. I think. I
That's
think he do it in
that's
Brazil.
another that's another great idea. If they want to go back to Brazil for a fight night or for a pay-per-view, if it's a fight night, then it could be Jailton and Cyril in the main event. If it's a pay-per-view in Brazil, then I mean throw it on the main card, 3 rounds, nothing wrong with that. I think that would be my number one option for Jailton. There's other guys at the top of the division that could be feasible, but I really like Cyril Gahn versus Jailton Almeida.
I agree. That's what I was gonna pick. You know, and then if he wins, he's right there. Maybe he can. They get to whoever wins that gets to get knocked out by Tom Aspinall. And for Sergey Spivak, um, I think the PFL just got themselves a cool heavyweight. Not even a cool one. No, but I mean, I don't even know what you do with
I'm
him,
not
man.
gonna go that. I'm not gonna go that far. Sergey is still someone that's slightly established in the heavyweight division. He's been in the rankings for a while. Um, but yeah, he's kind of just in a weird spot. I could see him. He's one of those ranked guys right now. I could see him fighting anyone below him, or I could see him even fighting someone that's unranked in the heavyweight division.
Yeah, maybe he does like I don't know. Maybe he does the winner of March and Tibura and who's he Porkin? Is that who's fighting?
Mick Parkin.
McParkin. McParkin.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
that's what they do.
Another thing,
Uh,
like Ryan Span's moving up to heavyweight, so
yeah, there's a couple options for him. Next
but
fight,
yeah.
Kevin Holland. Welcome to the GFL, buddy. You're done. I don't even. I mean, I really don't know what you do with him either. I mean, out of his last 5 fights, he's won one. Um, he should have won this fight. I said that he should have won the fight, but I did not pick him to win because you could never pick Kevin Holland. I know a dude that one of my buddies bet on Kevin Holland, and I was like, I wouldn't do that, and he lost his parlay. So yeah, man, maybe you just give him an old head. I wouldn't even. He doesn't even like. He wouldn't even right now to deserve to fight someone like Chris Curtis. I don't think. Um,
I
I
mean,
don't know.
that would be a fun fight at 85, just as long as Holland would stay on the feet, of course. But that would be a fun fight at 85 for sure. But as far as just where Kevin Holland's at right now, he just isn't he it seems like at times he doesn't show that he cares as much as you'd think he should.
Oh yeah.
Um, before this fight, he was beefing with Rampage on a podcast, talking, and during that, talking about how he doesn't care about this fight against the Ritter. Um, so I don't know. It's just Holland's in a weird place right now. He's someone that's hard to judge, and I don't think he's ready to be cut yet from the UFC. Obviously, he's been someone that's been really reliable for him. The UFC brass still likes him a lot. But yeah, I think his back could be against the wall if he loses his next one, whether it be against someone like Chris Curtis or maybe someone else that's fun down at 70. At this point I don't know if we ever see him back at 70, even though anyone who watches MMA would agree that he looks far better at 170 than he does at 185. Um, just with his height and his length at 70, he's looked really good there, but he's just had trouble at 85 with some of the top guys, and I don't see that. I don't see that changing.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say he became unlikable, but he did a lot of unlikable stuff fight week. Like you said with the podcast, on the embedded, he was somehow he talking shit on Ritter. And I saw like a clip of him like meeting up with some fans, and like one of them went for a picture and put their arm around him, and he got super mad and was like, "We're not doing this, and I'm done," and just walked away. I don't know. He just kind of got unliked. He did some unlikable stuff for me this fight week, and I mean, going in the fight looked like he did not care at all. And then I mean, he goes in there, he gets subbed in the first round. Um, so
Yeah, and
yeah,
I'm guilty of it as well. I thought Holland was going to win. I thought Holland was going to be able to use his reach, use the distance control, and I thought he was going to be able to land some heavy shots on Ritter on the feet just because he had the striking advantage. But you saw whenever it got to the ground that Ritter was just too heavy on top, and that a sub was coming because Ritter looked like an animal whenever he got on Holland. And
yeah,
yeah, it looked pretty. It looked as soon as Holland got down, it looked like it was pretty bad, and obviously he ended up getting subbed. For
yeah,
Ritter, coming off a big submission win against someone who is pretty has a well-established name in the UFC, someone that's people like and people know. I do see him getting someone ranked next. He called for someone in the top five. That's not happening.
no
Um,
way.
but there are some fun ones that I think could be in play for Ritter. Maybe a Roman Dolidze, maybe a Jack Hermanson, um, maybe Michelle Pereira, um, maybe an Anthony Fluffy Hernandez.
Yeah,
Someone in that bottom 10 or bottom 9 of the middleweight rankings, I think it could be a really realistic opponent for Ritter. Um, and that's what I would want to see. I think my number one option would probably be maybe Roman Dolidze
yeah,
or Anthony Fluffy Hernandez.
yeah. Why I like those fights. My top prediction was one of the guys you said. Actually, I think Jack Hermanson would be a really great fight for him. We haven't seen him since he beat Joe Pyfer almost a year ago.
Hmm.
So I think it'd be a good welcoming back for him. It'd be a really good fight. I don't know who I'd pick to win, but I would like to see Ritter versus Jack Hermanson. That's just me personally. But I think none of those fights would be bad down there in the bottom of the rankings. Just to get him in the rankings, and then he could start fighting up.
Yeah, not at all. And then let's move on to the prelims.
This little guy
Yeah, we were
stole my parlay. I'm not even joking you. The only one that didn't hit was Peyton Talbot finish.
yeah, so I'll
Super
start
Dave.
first. I'll start first because I have some explaining to do because in our 2025 prediction video,
Oh
we
yeah, I
talked
mean
about
all that down the drain, man.
who we think is going to be breakout fighter of the year. And I picked Peyton Talbot. I thought Peyton Talbot was going to beat Barcelos, and I thought he was going to end up potentially getting one or two more wins this year. Um, it was two completely different levels on the ground. You saw on the feet, Barcelos was just swarming Peyton. He was in his face the whole time. He was landing shots, even though Peyton seemed to be the cleaner striker. But I mean, Peyton was getting taken down with ease. He and then once he was down there, he was just stuck.
Yeah,
Barcelos was landing shots up from up top. He had a lot of control time. Was able to just keep Peyton Talbot down. Even whenever they were up against the fence, Peyton wasn't able to work his way up that much. Um, so that seems to be something of a hole in Peyton's game that could be exploited in the future if it's not worked on. And we'll see. We'll see what happens with Peyton Talbot now. We're kind of cooling down on the hype a little bit. I'm not gonna say fraud alert yet. I'm not
I
there
don't
with
know.
Peyton.
That was
I'm
that
not.
was
I'm
rough.
not. It was rough. It was a rough performance. Um, Even with Frank Ocean in attendance, wasn't able to wasn't able to get it done.
Bro, I mean, it was. I couldn't even believe it when I was watching. I mean, it was night and day. I mean, I think it was the hair. Might have been the hair.
Yeah, was it the haircut? Did he
Maybe
lose?
he used all his grappling on Frank Ocean. Who knows?
That's crazy.
Um, but like I don't know. But I was actually told my parlay. I was actually heated. And yeah, I was just thinking the whole time I'm watching. I'm like, bro, Preston's predictions for him this year are down the drain, bro. I mean, there's no way he gets a ranked fight this year. I don't think. I think he's gonna fight one more time, and that'll be it. I think who he fight. I think it'll be a good fight too. I'd like to see him against Raul Rosas Jr. Personally, um, it's another guy that the UFC is trying to push into the rankings. So I think if you do that, if one of them, whoever loses, they're fine because whoever wins is gonna get hype. And if he wants to say, hey, I can do as a wrestler, Raul Rosas is pretty good. That's why I think he should fight next. I don't know about you.
I don't mind that. One thing I will say with just as far as pushing back on that though is that usually, at least for me, I would rather see the young prospects that people believe in sort of wait to fight each other until they're fighting for a little bit more stakes, whether it be a contender fight or necessarily a title fight. But obviously, Peyton Tyler and Rosas are a long way away from that. So I wouldn't mind seeing that right now. Another name that I was gonna throw out is maybe Brady Heiston. He he's unranked in the bantamweight division right now. He was on the Ultimate Fighter with Team Volkanovski against Ortega. He's had a few solid fights in the UFC. Few fun fights. He likes to scrap. So I think that could be um, just another rebound fight for Peyton. See what he can do.
Yeah.
So yeah, as far as Peyton goes, yeah, back to the drawing board for sure.
Yeah. He's got to figure stuff out. He's got to get the wrestling done. Send him to Dagestan. Send him to Team Khabib. Maybe he can get it done.
6 month, one phone call.
Yeah, 6 months and 2 years and forget. No, he needs a 2 year treatment. Um, for Ronnie Barcelos, man, I mean, what a performance!
Yeah, I
Shocking
mean,
to
a huge underdog. I think at one point he was plus 850.
yeah,
Um, he had a little bit of hype in 2019, won a few fights. Um, but yeah, a really good spot for Barcelos. He definitely made some people some money, as I said, with his betting line. But yeah, really happy for him. He really showed
yeah,
out.
he looked
Um,
good. I felt kind of
as
felt bad for
far
him. He looked kind of sad, talking about how he didn't like how everyone he felt about everyone was kept calling him an underdog and whatnot, and that kind of made me sad for him. But so I am kind of glad he got the win, even though I did like Peyton Talbot. But
Yeah, so just a little rapid fire on the rest of the prelims. Asmat Bakayev, UFC debut, stopped Zachary Reese. Another
I mean, I
heavyweight.
thought this guy died.
Yeah,
Killed him.
Zachary Reese was laid out for a long time. He was having trouble sitting up. That was a crazy knockout. Bogdan Guskov
Gets it
fighting
done.
Billy Akana on short notice. Elikana steps in on 5 days' notice, makes the walk, but of course gets subbed in round two. Bogdan looked in control this entire fight.
Yeah.
As soon as he got it to the ground, it was going to be problems. Grant Dawson put him back in the rankings.
Oh yeah. I mean,
I don't
hey,
understand why he wasn't in the rankings before anyway. I don't see how he's not one of the top 15 lightweights in the world. Um, yeah, just completely from bell to bell, showed off the wrestling, showed off the volume of strikes. Um, he was able to keep ground control and land some shots. Um, yeah, Grant Dawson, give him a ranked fight next. He deserves to be in the rankings. Eileen
oh,
Perez,
Perez wins, man. Hard
close
work.
fight. Um, she did a lot of twerking, per usual. And
Um,
then,
yeah. Randy Nakamura, what are you doing? Olympic wrestler, doesn't shoot for a takedown.
no, that
Okay.
was so surprising.
Now we've got to. I've got to see highlights of this guy. I mean, what are you doing? This fight was a banger. I watched this one. Um, they went at it. Ricky Tercios, what a chin, man. Some of those shots he was taking, I'm like, bro, anyone else get knocked out?
Ricky Tercios is a character too. He's
Oh, yeah.
pretty out there.
What a
Um,
bounce back! What a bounce back win for Bernardo Sapage, man. There was one point where I thought he was gonna get flying knee knockout, and I was like, how poetic.
yeah, big bounce
Um,
back spots for Sopaj, and then of
Tagir, man.
course he did what he was supposed to do. He started off Team Habib 1-0.
Yeah, I mean, I figured he would win too. All around, pretty good card, I thought. I enjoyed it a lot. Obviously, watching my boy Islam come in and destroy Renato Moicano. You know,
Yeah, there were some fights. There were some fun fights early on, even though the card did start off with a lot of decisions.
yeah,
Um,
and I mean, we start the main card off with 3 finishes.
yeah,
Every fight besides this one was a finish, and even this one was. I mean, I thought it was gonna be boring. It really wasn't.
no, Marab. I mean, I think Marab gained a lot of fans on Saturday
I
night.
mean, he flipped a lot of fans. Everyone. I mean, I was hating on Morale when he was champion, and I mean, now I'm like, okay, this dude's legit.
I mean, yeah, you saw like the pictures in the late rounds of the fights where he's stopping Umar's takedowns. He's showboating. He's looking
I
at
mean,
Habib. He's looking
yeah,
at Habib um through the fence while not being taken down by Umar with his hands up, and Umar just
to
praying
do
for a
that
takedown.
with a Dagestani wrestler on your back is insane.
1,000%. It was. I think Marab won the night. I think he's the biggest talking point out of Saturday night. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, UFC 311, Intuit Dome, Los Angeles, California. It was an awesome card, and
We got the next season of Tough announced too. Chael Sonnen versus Daniel Cormier.
that's gonna be a
That's
banger. I'm so glad they went in this direction. I'm glad you
maybe
brought that up. Um,
maybe they come out of retirement. Fight.
yeah, right. But yeah, they co-host Good Guy Bad Guy, of course, and frankly, I just think they're gonna make much better TV than what a lot of options would have been when it comes to coaching options as in the active UFC roster right now.
Yeah,
Um,
I
DC is
guarantee they're
always a
better.
fun character. Chael is Chael. He's undefeated for a reason. Um,
They go for a reason. Come on
yeah,
now.
yeah. Come on now.
He
So
beat
that's
John
gonna
Jones
be
and Fedor.
yeah. So yeah, that could not be a better way to do tough. And tough was kind of fading a little bit in the last few seasons, but I think this is a good way to bring it back.
Yeah.
And yeah, so UFC 311, successful night, and catch y'all in the next episode.
We will rate. We will talk. Not rate. We'll talk about 312. Um.
Talk about Izzy.
Oh yeah,
Izzy
I don't know. No, no. We'll
versus
talk about Izzy and Imavov, the fight night.
yep.
Excited for that. Excited to watch Izzy beat this
And we've
Russian
got
dude.
some some fight announcements that we'll talk about too that were broken on UFC 311. So stay tuned for
Oh yeah.
that.